Okay, welcome everyone to the Shauna Foundation's Library Poetry Tour. This is our second year with this program. The program is sponsored obviously by the Shauna Foundation, but also by the Milford Cultural Council, the Uxbridge Cultural Council, and the Mass Cultural Council. And it's also sponsored by you, everyone who supports the foundation. And this is our major fundraiser time, so we do have a sign over there with a code if anyone wants to donate after they hear the brilliance of Artie. It is my pleasure and honor to introduce Art. I'm stunned that he hasn't done this with his poetry before. I grew up 4 doors down from Art on North Main Street in Uxbridge. And as long as I've known him, Art's been a musician, a poet, an actor, a photographer, to this day. And I say that because a lot of us in high school at the time, we're all, a good group of us were into the arts. And some of us stayed with it for our lives, and most didn't. And this is like almost the perfect pun, but Art has lived an artful life. I'm thrilled that we are the ones who will be able to have you share your poetry. You just picked up an honorable mention.
Third place.
Third place at the Worcester, I'm sure, what is the?
Frank O'Hara Poetry Contest.
Yeah, so I mean, when I saw that, and I wasn't surprised because I've known what he's done before. I mean, Art and I started a theater company together. Actually, I should have said that first. And he's a tremendous actor. So he's just done all of this, but I'm thrilled for you all to be here to hear his poetry for the first time. His first reading ever is with the Shauna Foundation. So everyone, welcome Art.
So the thing is yes, when I was younger, I wrote some poetry and continued, did that on and off through the years. And but I had a decision to make. I kind of figured out how poetry doesn't really pay all that well. So I fixed that problem by becoming a social worker. And everything was taken care of after that. So we talked about this being my first public reading, and so I'll start off with a poem called First Light. As part of my photography and just part of my nature, and to enjoy what's out there, I go to a place called Census Natural Preserve in Middletown, Rhode Island, about 40 times a year, usually on a Sunday. Except for recently, where during the summers now, it's not so much fun getting up at 3:30 in the morning to get there for sunrise. I cheat a little bit during the summer, but any other season, I get there for sunrise. So this is a very short poem called First Light, but it starts us off for the night here. Is a hollow set of metaphors to say over and over again that the sun will come up tomorrow and bring a new day without ever having stood in the pre-dawn darkness and experienced the exquisite beauty of the first blast of light. The next poem is entitled Ring Blackbird, and really serves 2 purposes. One is to continue to honor my visits down to the ocean, but also to kind of combine my work in psychotherapy, my work with persons that have lived hard lives, and some of whom have been charged with crime, and what it means to have the ability to recollect, to have memories that are so intensely bad and tragic, and to not sometimes be able to remember the things that has gone right. But at the same time, a red-winged blackbird is a pretty bird, right? So here we go. So I wish that I could remember the first time I saw a red-winged blackbird. I remember so much and haunting, terrifying details of other things. I just wish I could remember my first encounter with the red-winged blackbird to reassure me that my mind can hold on to that which is beautiful with the same ease of that which is clearly not. Now, being a music fan, I've learned, I'm probably thinking Rich Rider, the Detroit Wheels right now, that you can act like you're only singing one song, but sing three, it's called a medley, and you get away with that. So this is a medley of just two. Both of them have something to do with the ocean, because that's where I was when I wrote both of these. And they're both connected in theme. First, blessings. I sit here and I attempt to contemplate the simple and complex beauty of the sea. The sun on my face, this incessant lapping of the waves on the rocks. But I am disturbed by my lack of feeling settled with all aspects of my life. And these thoughts interrupt my peace. Then I realize that I always, seemingly no matter what, feel this way. I take stock of all that is beautiful in my life, despite a lifetime of feeling this way. Then I sneeze loudly twice, instinctively say, God bless you, to myself. And I am struck by the sweet irony. Intercession. There are times I still say a prayer of intercession. When solitary meditation is not getting it done. When I can't even get back to neutral. When I don't even know how I got in reverse. And the brakes won't work. And it's then and only then I seem most ready to reconsider a divine hand. I know the hand by my tradition. Even as I doubt its existence in the literal sense, I beg for its actual help. I'm sorry that these poems aren't funnier. This next poem is actually titled Celebrate, and I'll let you decide later if it's ironic. I know now why my memory haunts me. It doesn't do it to betray me. It doesn't do it to cause me distress and reliving of hurt. It is attempting to bring me back further than the hurt. It is attempting to reunite me with the purity of my childhood before it got complicated and hurtful, and before I process it that way. It attempts to go back before each milestone so that I can touch the part of me, that which was pure. So it stops everywhere along the way. I tend to re-feel all the hurt and confusion. I forget all those who tried to love me and those who still do. I still love all of them, all of whom I've loved. They may too. I forget. I forget all those who reached out to me and I either found their imperfect selves or engaged my own imperfect, hurtful self. But now I am realizing as I try to meditate myself back to the initial breath, there are loved ones who saw me there. Not that I was there, but when they heard me speak, they heard my hope. When they heard me laugh, they heard my joy. When I hugged them, they felt my love, even when I did not, even when I could not. I was not meant to hurt, I was hurt. I was meant to shine a personal peace that radiated. I was meant to shine a personal love that burst forth. Somehow, sometimes, I must have done that. My memories, when taken in the whole, are something to celebrate. Now, I don't think this next poem is depressing. This is my point. One thing, it is the poem that got me the third prize in the Frank O'Hara competition of the Worcester County Poetry Association. But the little honest story I will tell about this, and I think I can publicly tell this, I hope it doesn't get me to lose my award, but Initially, I was notified that I'd gotten an honorable mention. And then I got a call saying I'd got promoted to 3rd place. When I told my wife that, who's here, she asked if there was any chance of anything bad happening to the 1st place and the 2nd place. And I told her she'd been watching too many Netflix drama series. So this poem is called Census. As my hearing fades, I must consider the good in that. Perhaps now the sound of thunder will frighten me less. And then someone asks, well, what of music, Art? And I glance straight ahead and answer, but quietly and somewhat only to myself, for speaking my truth too loudly would only serve to alarm those who are in the vicinity who can still hear well. I say to myself, I will always hear music. I have absorbed all that I've heard and enjoyed, and even now, with my hearing still partially intact, I compose entire musical pieces in my mind to the extent that I hear them clearly and loudly as if played by the geniuses who inspired this high level of active imagination. The sound of a solo double bass putting down a simple 5-note funky melody and subtly being joined by sweet bleeps of trio of sax, trumpet, and trombone. Then that rise to this own type of thunder. A blast of energy blazes through in a blast of precision mixed with swagger of Stevie Ray. And vocals come forward from a mix of Janis Joplin and Bessie Smith. And I continue to evolve this piece through endless possibilities as my feet tap and my fingers snap to newfound options in music I've loved so much. And I know that nothing can take that away from me. And then someone asks, what about your vision, Art? And I speak out loud, which I know. That of which I've experienced is beautiful. My wife, my children, my whole family, my friends, my dogs, my ocean, my trees, all that I've taken with my eyes and experienced the splendor are photographs in the scrapbook of my mind. They too go with me wherever I go. Now, as we get older, as I'm fortunate enough to be getting older and kind of, it's a little bit, one thing that let's just say it's interesting to be healthy, but still feel enough aches and pains to never forget that you're old, right? But I realized that along the way, choices I've made may not have been as brave as some people give me credit for, which is nice, I like it. But there may have been a whole bunch of compensation along the way. In my case, I'm going to call it cowardice. Cowardice is my constant companion, always arriving in delicate disguise. He appears humble to avoid humiliation, or restrained to avoid rejection, or private to avoid exposure, or intelligent to appear capable, or angry to try to scare away real or imaginary threats. He can appear pragmatic and balanced when he is afraid his opinions will be criticized or worse, proven wrong. He can appear accomplished but limited his risk and only push as far as he could with low to no chance of abject failure. I don't completely know all that I carry. I don't want to know badly enough to go to a hypnotist or otherwise re-experience what I don't remember. Because really, why would I want to go back to that which is too scary for me to remember? Cowardice begets cowardice. People are clapping for that. Thank you.
Yes.
These next few poems, depending on time, go to family matters. And a couple of you here know some of this, but maybe not all. I've put this poem a couple times on Facebook right around Mother's Day for obvious reasons. It's called Three Moms. The mom I never figured out, who was not there for me, who loved me from afar but was not far away, who was closer to my nephews and nieces than she ever was to me. And no one, not even her in our brief exchanges, ever told me why. And I remember my college girlfriend and me at the funeral, after she didn't even know that my real mother was living until I told her that she had died. I always understood John Lennon's mother more than most, even the first time I heard it. And there's the mom who came into my life at 8 and gave me new life and a younger brother, whom I count as my mother, who loved me until her dying day that came far too soon, who gave me new hope and saw the goodness in me and made me feel safe and loved. And there's the mom of our children, who waited for the blessing of our first child with the sorrow that comes from waiting, who shines her light, who does the hard work, who teaches in the school almost as well as she teaches in the home. And I think how both my moms helped me find this mom, the one with whom I share parenthood, the one with whom I share my life. Now, as you probably gathered from that poem, my family kind of came in two phases. I like to often, for all kinds of reasons, because it gives us a lot of room for jokes as well, but I call one part of my life my Woonsocket part of my life, and the other part of my life, the Uxbridge part of my life. So stuff that was a lot tougher, that I only knew maybe a little bit of, some of which I don't even know, was lived by my other siblings in ways that were particularly injurious to them, particularly to my older brother. My older brother, I idolized you and imitated you. But I was young then. You old, but young then. I stare at my age and I know I've outlived you more than one way now. But I never outran your laugh or your rebelliousness. Both are the roots that helped me grow. We grew up differently, in oddly different times, separated only by a handful of years, and in ways that only you and I and our siblings would understand. Formative moments in your life would be only distant memories that I kept below my surface and allowed me time to breathe. You held my son in your arms just after his birth. And my memory of that moment, to jump ahead of every other memory, good or bad, happy or sad, and see you for the big brother that held my first kid in your arms and smiled the goofy family smile that we always hold common. Now this next poem is called Grief, because I'm trying to bring up the mood. And the first line will really surprise you, will shock you, based on what you've seen so far. So the first line is, I have a close and personal relationship with grief. I don't fear him. When he visits, I pour a cup of coffee that we share, while I look into the energy in grief's eye. I notice a tear welling up in the corner of grief's eye, and when I tell grief how sorry I am for him, he tells me to kiss his ass and then laughs a lot like I do. He lets a tear flow down his cheek onto his seemingly perpetually stubbly goatee. He scratches his bald head. He adjusts his eyeglasses and continues to stare straight ahead. He asks nothing of me, and I ask nothing of him. And we just sit there looking into each other's eyes, communicate telepathically, as if we are one and the same. But grief is different than me. We are not one and the same. He visits me sometimes and then leaves. But it always seems to be when I'm facing my reflection. But still, we are not the same. How are we doing for time?
You've got about 7 minutes.
All right,
Go to 7.
try to get through these next two. So Skip made the comment in his introduction of me about the 4th Street Production Company. We didn't last that long, but I think we made a big impact, at least on our own lives. And the second play I did with Skip directing was Samuel Beckett's Craps Last Tape. And the real shame of it is that I think I did an okay job with it. You know, I had to play somebody that was good, maybe 60 years older than me. But now I think I could do it.
I was thinking the same thing.
So this poem is called Samuel Beckett Said. Samuel Beckett said, "You're on earth. There's no cure for that." Buddha said, "All life is suffering." John Lennon wrote, "All you need is love." Paul Westerberg screamed, "We'll inherit the earth, but we don't want it." And I get sick of the new method of just loving the people closest to us. Even Jesus was quoted as saying, "The poor will always be with you." Of course, he said a lot more positive things about love and compassion, but the futility is well established. We who love anyway know that all we need is love, but our efforts have failed, and we continue to love. Can't stop, won't stop. Right up to our collective dying breaths, and we will fail, but it is all we know. So, some years ago, or a long time ago, my wife and I have been married 36 years, so I know it's a long time ago. A friend of mine who said that he was in love, but he would never get married again, came to me and said, "I'm going to get married again." So this is actually a song lyric, but it doesn't even sound that great when I play it on guitar, particularly now with my hands beginning to get messy. So I am going to read it, but it's a song lyric that I wrote for Skip and Honor for the wedding.
Oh.
It's called "To All Your Dreams." When in the eye of the storm, do you want to be alone? Take it all on your own? Or have someone to hold on to? Have someone to hold on with? To all your dreams that you know can still come true. When the darkness covers you, do you want to feel the chill? Do you think you always will? Or let some sunshine in the kiss your lover brings to all your dreams that you know can still come true. Reaching out, reaching in, reaching back, screaming out, loving real, feel the pain, love who you are, alone together. When laughter shared, smiles do return, and the goodness that is you is there again for you, comes out in all you do, to all your dreams that you know can still come true. Thank you.
They're going to make me cry before I come up here. Start the Q&A. So we'll have a Q&A, but I'm going to start it off first because seems to be a lot of spiritual quest in your work. Is that a big part of it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Both in the work I do with other people in psychotherapy, I've used an awful lot of what's sometimes called Buddhist psychology, that type of thing. And I also practice as a meditator most as I can. I'm not as good as I'd like to be, but it is a big part of what I do. Yeah.
Any questions?
Where do you write?
A few actually, like I said, I think Blessings and Intercession were both written literally on a rock at Census, on the phone. But it's wherever.
Wherever it comes
Yeah,
to you.
yeah.
Do you ever write poems on your phone?
That's it, yes. Like I said,
Does it?
yeah, so every so
Okay.
often I'll just, at least a few lines, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
thank you.
I love hearing you read these. You read them really well.
Yes.
Thank you.
But I also would like to see them later. Are they on a website? Do you have a book? Is there a place where they are?
If you find me on Facebook,
Okay,
I'll send you some stuff.
I would love that.
Yeah.
A lot of those, I think they, I wanted to hear them again, especially I mean, there's a lot of like echoes and like reverberations in there. It's really, really good. I mean, grief was like,
Yeah.
constant. I mean, a lot of others too, and the one for your brother just got
Thank
me
you.
too.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
What were you, Art, what were you, I didn't quite catch what you were comparing grief to in that poem.
It wasn't really so much comparing it as much as I was giving it I was personifying it.
Mm-hmm.
I was giving grief a personality.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
But, it is like that, and we do the similar work. And you observe people kind of coming in and out of grief.
Just absolutely.
And, it's like, it's the visitor. It doesn't, you can't possibly stay with you all the time.
But sometimes I think it will. Sometimes
Well,
I think
maybe
it will.
in the initial, for maybe the first couple days, weeks, but then it's more of a transient thing. Then it's more of, okay, this is my life, but now I just remembered, now I just got hit with that. So I think that's a very good observation.
Yeah.
And, I was trying to see if there was something you were comparing it to, but not really.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Thank you Milford TV as always for we'll see Art, oh my goodness, tomorrow night at the Uxbridge Library.
Get out there again. Yeah.
And then we will be back here in October to wrap up this year's library poetry tour. Thank you again.
Thank you.